Major rulings coming down from the Supreme Court. Justices weighing in on birthright citizenship and transgender athletes. What the rulings mean here at noon. Plus fire restrictions going into effect for the Mount Hood National Forest. What you need to know before your next camping trip.
I already got a jacket full of crab. What's that? Those are crab in there.
And a bizarre moment caught on camera. Police catch people illegally harvesting crab and hiding them in their clothes. And taking a live look at the Supreme Court, where the justices issued 3 major rulings this morning, including the future of transgender athletes and the cornerstone of this nation's immigration policy. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Gordon. This morning, the court ruled to uphold birthright citizenship, knocking down President Donald Trump's executive order that sought to restrict it. The court's decision leaves in place the understanding that anyone born on U.S. soil is a citizen. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in his majority opinion, quote, "The framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every freeborn person in this land. We keep that promise today." Meanwhile, the Supreme Court also ruled to allow states to bar transgender athletes from playing on girls' sports teams. The ruling was 6-3. The High Court said such bans are legal under both the Constitution and federal law. Right now, bans exist in some form or another in 27 states, with bans in West Virginia and Idaho the focus of this case. The ruling is a blow to the LGBTQ+ movement, but advocates for the bans say they create a more even playing field. Also today, the High Court struck down Watergate-era limits on how much political party committees can spend in coordination with candidates. The suit was filed by then Senate candidate J.D. Vance. For decades, party committees have been capped on spending in coordination with a campaign. That has led to a flood of campaign money going towards super PACs with no spending limits. The High Court's decision could reshape campaign fundraising ahead of this year's midterm elections. Here locally, police are trying to figure out what led to a deadly crash in Northeast Portland early this morning. The crash happened just before 3:30 a.m., shutting down Northeast Lombard and 72nd Avenue for the entire morning commute. Police say 2 people were in the car. One of them was found dead there at the scene. The other person rushed to the hospital. No word on their condition. The major crash team is continuing to investigate. We're keeping a close eye on a wildfire that forced evacuations on the Washington side of the gorge. And we're learning that fire is now 60% contained, according to the National Interagency Fire Center. While evacuation levels have been downgraded near Lyle, investigators are now looking for evidence on how that wildfire started. Fire officials are asking anyone with pictures or video showing the start of the fire, specifically taken between 1:40 and 1:55 p.m. on Sunday, to reach out. Investigators are also hoping to track down some hikers who may have been in that area around Riverview Drive before that time. Meanwhile, strong winds and dry conditions haven't made things easier for crews.
I know every inch of the mountains up there, and it's treacherous.
We heavily depend on our ground resources, our firefighters digging in the dirt. However, due to the steep terrain, we do depend heavily on helicopters as well as the scooper airplanes.
The wildfire has burned 233 acres so far and at its peak threatened 75 structures. Centerville Highway also reopened last night, according to officials. Meantime, fire restrictions for Mount Hood National Forest are going into effect tomorrow. So starting July 1st, the Forest Service says all campfires, charcoal, pellet, or any other kind of open fire is prohibited. That includes burning in developed campgrounds. Fireworks and other explosive devices are prohibited on National Forest all year long, of course. Portable cooking stoves, lanterns, and heating devices using liquefied or bottled fuel, such as propane, are still allowed as long as they can be switched off. We're taking a live look of our Rose City sky camera right here of downtown Portland. It's a cloudy day out there in town. Meteorologist Chris McGinn is standing by in the Weather Center with how things are shaping up for the rest of the afternoon. Chris?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tim. Clouds typically mean cooler than average temperatures, right? And that's where we've been the last couple of days, and that's where we'll remain this afternoon. The springs of the waterfront showing at least a few bright spots in the clouds. It's quite comfortable, though, out there at this noon hour. Just now 60 degrees at Pearson Airfield in Vancouver. A few bright spots in an otherwise cloudy sky here over Salem as well. Currently 63 there. We do have some sunshine out of the East Gorge. This from Oregon's Veterans Home in the Dalles. Our camera pointed west towards Mount Hood. That is actually a really pretty shot. And I think you can see the camera kind of bopping around the breeze a little bit there. It is gusty again through the Columbia River Gorge, specifically the east end of the gorge. Right now, wind gusts on the order of about 33 miles an hour. Those will continue in that range, 30 to 40 miles an hour for the rest of this afternoon with sunshine there. Meanwhile, pretty much everybody along and west of the Cascades has some form of cloud cover. In fact, most of us are generally mostly cloudy. And despite some bright spots in the clouds, we're really trying to accentuate those here. It's generally mostly cloudy over downtown. Currently 60 degrees at the airport, and the plan for this afternoon has us hovering in the low, or I should say mid to upper 60s with a few sun breaks late in the day. I've got Portland topping out at 67. I think we'll clear out a little earlier tomorrow, or we will see some afternoon clearing, and that will lead towards a little bit of a moderating trend in our temperatures for Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have a look ahead to that and the 4th of July holiday weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. Here's a look at some national headlines this afternoon. The U.S. and Iran have envoys in Qatar today, but the disagreement continues on the next steps of peace talks. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are in Doha after President Trump claimed yesterday that Iran requested a meeting with U.S. counterparts today. But Iran has denied that claim. Instead, Tehran officials say a delegation was sent to Qatar to discuss implementation of the interim deal, including the unfreezing of billions of dollars of assets with third-party mediators. Concerns grew over the weekend that talks would unravel after the U.S. and Iran traded military strikes before agreeing to stand down. A new report shows job openings in the U.S. reached a 2-year high in May. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says they rose to about 7.6 million. The monthly increase is the second in a row. It defies economists' expectations that Iran war price shocks could harm the labor market. To Venezuela now, where hope is fading fast in the search for survivors. Now 6 days after back-to-back earthquakes devastated coastal parts of that country. More aftershocks hit the region yesterday as the death toll climbed past 1,700 people. A total of more than 40,000 people are still unaccounted for following the disaster. More than $300 million in international aid is now pouring into the country to support both rescue and recovery efforts in Venezuela. That includes more than 2,600 rescue workers, search dogs, and all their machinery. Well, summer officially started less than 2 weeks ago, but large portions of this country are already sweltering under a dangerous heat wave that threatens to break records. Meanwhile, dry air and high winds fuel wildfires here in the West. Reed Binion reports.
The lion's share of ignitions are caused by human acts or emissions that create these ignitions.
As wildfires rage in Colorado, officials, including the governor, are urging caution for the 4th of July.
Celebrate big without lighting anything on fire. Hold on to those fireworks until Colorado Day, August 1st. That's our 150th.
Among the wildfires currently burning in Colorado is the Aspen Acres fire. It started early Monday. According to officials, it grew to 23,000 acres as of Monday evening as howling winds stymied firefighting efforts. The flames have consumed multiple residences, but officials say no injuries have been reported. Evacuation orders have been issued. Meanwhile, there was a procession in Grand Junction Monday, honoring 3 firefighters killed over the weekend while battling a wildfire along the Utah-Colorado border.
Fire service is a family, so when something like this happens, we all feel it.
As wildfires rage in the West, sweltering heat is baking other parts of the country. In Chicago, officials are reminding people high temperatures can be much more than just uncomfortable.
The extreme heat can be very dangerous. This is the time to check in on our neighbors. Let's look out for one another.
The oppressive heat wave also hitting the eastern half of the U.S. ahead of the July 4th weekend, threatening to tie or break more than 100 daily temperature record highs, plus more than twice that for record warm overnight lows. I'm Reed Binion reporting.